If you're an entrepreneur or sales professional and you're not using AI and automation, your business is already falling behind. Welcome to the Done by One podcast. My name is Danielle Damianov, where we break down how modern businesses are using AI and automation and systems to scale faster without working longer hours. On this show, I interview business owners, operators, and industry leaders who are actually implementing AI, not just talking about it. We cut through the hype and we focus on what works, what doesn't, and what you need to start doing now. Because the gap between businesses that automate and those that don't is getting wider every day. If you are ready to future-proof your business and stop doing everything manually, you are in the right place. So let's dive in. Hey, everybody, it's Danielle Damianov with Done by One podcast, and I'm here today with Brian Covey. He is Senior Vice President at CrossCountry. He runs multiple branches. He is an author, podcast host, coach, and one amazing person who actually has built a pretty awesome business after the 2008 meltdown. And I think we talked about that the last time on the podcast. So thank you, Brian, so much for being on here.
Thanks for having me back on, Danielle. Excited to jam with you and talk more about where we are today and what's ahead.
Yes, exactly. So we're going to talk a little bit today about, and this is really going to be for any loan officer out there that might be thinking about wanting to, go from being a single loan officer into maybe running a team or a branch. But before we get into that, I'm just curious. I want to ask you a couple of questions. What are you seeing today? What are the biggest struggles that a lot of loan officers are having right now?
I'm going to put it in two camps, and just based on the conversations I've had lately, there's the camp of people that have business coming in. So they have a steady flow of referrals. They've built their database up to where maybe they're working their database to some extent. That varies, as you know. They've got referral partners. Maybe they're doing some direct to consumer, but I'm going to say this first camp, you're getting leads today. You're getting at bats. And so you're in this camp of now figuring out your systems, your support. How do you organize this? How do you integrate AI and technology, which we know to automate and really be fast to deliver a great customer experience, but to almost be omnipresent? Like, how are you on social? How are you out at networking events? How are you there? But I think the number one thing with that group I would be focused on today is most of them are struggling to build out their team properly. And what I mean by that is you've been the person that's done it all. Like, you've been there, I've been there. And it's like, before I had an LOA producing, it's like, I just did it all.
Right.
And at some point you move into this new realm that's unknown. And most of us, I know for myself, I was not good at it. I wasn't good at delegating. I didn't trust people to do things that I had done. You have the belief that nobody can do it as good as you can. And over time, I have squashed that. And so this first camp, what I'd say is, if you have referrals coming in to a certain degree, it really becomes about conversion, and it comes about your systems and your people. And so I would focus on those and figure out, where are you losing referrals today? Where could you automate some things? Or maybe who is your next hire that you could bring in from a marketing standpoint, from a business development standpoint, from a maybe loan level? Like, you need a loan partner that you go, hey, I need you to follow up here and work with the processing and underwriting team. So I think about that camp today has a very different challenge. And camp number two, this is the one that I think they're struggling the most. And you look at the numbers, look at how many, it's almost 80-20, like real estate, where 20% of the LOs that are licensed are really doing about 80% of the production when we look at numbers. So this next group's going to fall into that group of the ones, they don't have enough referrals. They're struggling every month, feels like they're back on the hamster wheel. They don't have any real repeat business. You're maybe one of 3 to 5 LOs if you have an agent that they refer to. And so you're not even number one. And you're out there just trying to figure out, where's my next referral? There's no predictability. You have no systems. You haven't really learned prospecting. And so this group has the challenge of, do I go direct to consumer? Do I add financial planners? Do I go with real estate agents?
Right.
And my advice to them would be, get really clear on who you want to work with, your targeted avatar. Do you love working with realtors? I know some people that love them. And Danielle, I know some people that just this week said, I'm not going to work with realtors. I'm going to go straight to the consumer. And I know some others that go, you know what? I love financial planners. I love working with investors. I love DSCR. I love more wealth management. I like debt consolidation. Like, whatever your jam is that you're great at, get great at it, and then start to do the other products and the other things. I think we fall in the camp of, we try to be all things to all people. It's like, What do you do well? What does your company do well? What can you stand out in the marketplace? And what I would give you this encouragement, we just went through this with a newer LO. Local events, I would encourage you to start going there, building relationships. And then, of course, we're both big on building your brand. Start to build a referral network through people you already know that like you and trust you. But that camp number 2 really has to get the motor running. Because if you don't have referrals, I don't care how good your rates are, how good your process, how good your system is. Grant Cardone says this, best known beats best.
Right. Exactly.
Unknown, you don't even get a chance,
Yes.
quote, or to get in the game. So that's the way I'm looking at the market today is really most people, there's a little variance, but you're in one of those camps today and you got to figure out in 2026, where are you going to tighten up and get great?
Well, and I think one of the things that you said that is really important that I want to point out is you're basically saying if you are in camp number 2, then you need to niche down, right? You need to figure out not be, oh, I can do, an $80,000 HELOC and I can do a, non-warrantable condo, da, da, da. Really, because what you focus on expands. And when you're all over the place, you're not focused on anything. Right? So being able to really niche down. In fact, at my company at Nexa, we just had somebody on stage that was literally going from 0 to doing, one of the top loan officers in the country for DSCR loans. She niched down. She went to every investor meeting locally. All of her content was on DSCR. She learned every product, every guideline, where she could fit the different loans. And she became an expert on that. And now she's literally crushing it. So finding that niche is huge. And a lot of times people don't want to find that niche because they then think to themselves, well, I don't want to be known as the DSCR, queen, for example. I want to, that people aren't going to send me other stuff. And that's not really how it is. The second important thing in camp number 1 that you said, and this word really stuck out with me, is omnipresent. And I was just at an EXP event in Barcelona last summer, and John Lee, who is a big AI guy, spoke. And he said he had a 3-day masterclass, and it was all around how to use AI to be omnipresent, right? So being on every channel. So that's both of those things are going to be huge. Let's talk about the loan officer that camp number 1, right? They're finally found their, the way to bring in business. It will actually let's stop for a second and let's talk real quick about how camp number 2 can get to becoming camp number 1. What does those activities look like? Aside from niching down to then be that person that's getting all of these referrals.
Yeah, I think that I was sharing this actually with a younger loan officer. They've been in the business for a year, right? So imagine joining in the last few years. Like we've been in a season for 3 years,
Yes.
if not more. And what I shared with them, when I started, I thought back to, they were asking this question. I hadn't even thought about this. They're like, hey, when you started, like where did you get your start? And yes, it was years ago, but I still tend to lean on this. And I believe this is true, is I got into new construction and condos because it was difficult. People didn't want to do it. People didn't want to sit on the sites back when you would do that. They didn't want to work with new construction because this, you get so many buyers that don't qualify and you get people that never buy there. And so there is a lot of work. I looked at it as I was new and I needed reps. I needed to go through and pull credit and work with people. And I was able to change my perspective thanks to a mentor. He said, hey, Brian, think about all the people that come on the new construction sites that never buy there. What if you marketed them and you stayed in touch with them? Because many times the on-site agent, they're just working the deals that they have and they're trying to keep up with that. And if they don't buy, they come in one time and they're gone. My real added value, and this could be true today, is how do you follow up with your real estate partners, whether it's new construction or resale listings, and you stay in touch through a system, by the way, right? You can use your CRM, you can use technology today. And how do you get in front of people and stay in front of them? Because we think one conversation, we talk to a buyer one time, a realtor one time, we're like, man, they're going to call me when they're ready. I don't know about you. As a buyer or consumer, that is not how the world works. The next person that pops up that can solve my problem and I trust them, especially with social, we're going to tend to go to them. So I share all that because not only was that true when I started, it's still true today. And I think about where I've leaned into with a lot of my contacts are in the investor space. A lot of them are hard money lenders and that type of world, or they're real estate agents with teams. I go, there's this concept my friends at Brand Builder shared. It's called Sheehan's Wall. And it basically talks about you need to break through that wall by saying the same thing over and over and over. And it's not until you break through the wall have you earned the right to then diversify and talk about other things. So what that means for us is in mortgage, you need to be talking about one thing over and over. Is it DSCR like you shared? I've got a friend, he'll close 50 DSCR loans this month. It's all he talks about, all he posts about, only thing that he's really when he goes out and networks and goes places. And so that could be you. And maybe it's not 50 loans, but what if it was 5 and you're struggling to get to 1 to 2 every month, right? Like I'm always thinking, what's next? And all that to say, if you're in that camp, you need to get really clear, again, of your targeted avatar, what you're going to talk about. And then the actions and activities need to mirror that, meaning the events you go to, right? If you're going to go to investor meetups and you're focusing on DSCR or bank statement loans, those type of things, great. But if you're going to go and you're thinking, you know what, I want to do new construction, great. Your local home builders association is where you should be figuring out how do you part of the sales and marketing council? How do you join that council? Who are the builders in your market? Start to become friends with them. And the activities don't look that different in the sense of you can't post and pray. You can't hope that social is going to attract people. That comes later. Like I'm 7 years into posting and doing that, where I would say I get a pretty regular amount consistently of direct access to people who go, hey, I got a mortgage question. Hey, Brian, I saw your team does mortgages. I'm a real estate agent. Like that is so many years later. And I'm not the best at it. So I tell people is like, maybe you can do it faster than 7 years. But what I know is you probably can't do it in 7 months.
Right. Well, the thing is it's consistency. And
Yeah.
you have been consistent for 7 years. And so now you've built a strong following online. You've built your brand, right? So when I talk about in my CRM done by one, I do coaching and I have 5 pillars. And the first pillar is mindset, motivation, mindset in the morning, and followed by lead generation and lead follow up, followed by sales, marketing, branding, right? And so you have active marketing and passive marketing. Active marketing is literally picking up the phone and calling people. And I know that's what everyone's trying to avoid, right? They don't want to do that. Passive marketing is posting on social media, right? That's not going to get you an immediate, but you need to be doing both and you need to be doing
Right.
it consistently.
Oh, and I love that you share that. You know, here's what I think about too is you share that. This is literally what I've been preaching to our group and sharing. If we know people have call reluctance, then don't you think your competition's probably also not calling or going to events and doing those things? So I was thinking about where's the blue ocean? Well, it is picking up the phone and calling people. It is text messaging people. And I think about tactically, you know, a lot of our companies, we all have videos we can send people. I'm a big believer in just grab your phone, shoot a video. Just this week, great example of an activity is with the Fed rate cut. Sending this to all of your agents, you can one time it, whether you have Vidyard or BombBomb or whatever you're using. Record that video and let them know, hey, you're probably going to get a lot of questions on this. You've probably seen a lot of news. Let me break this down for you in less than 60 seconds so you know what's really happening. Because this time was different, right? We got an improvement in pricing after the Fed rate cut. So that was a little bit different than the last few where we got an improvement before and then rates worsened afterwards. And everybody's like, what happened? What a great opportunity to educate people. Every week, you could send out a video to your group of agents. Referral partners could be financial planners. I love financial planners just because for me, I'm about generating wealth for people, whether you're a first-time home buyer or it's your 10th home. It doesn't matter. I think that's how you build wealth is through real estate. So find people you align with. And I share the video one because just like you said, Danielle, most people aren't making the calls, call reluctancy. I can guarantee you people are even less likely to send a video. So what if you became that person and got good at it? And by the way, you're going to suck at it at first, just like we all have. I still feel like I do sometimes, you know, like, oh man, mumbled my words, blah, 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 but I'm sending it. I would look at those things to differentiate yourself. And then our CEO said this week, Danielle. Ron was talking about the hard work and just the grind and the belly to belly. Let's not forget about there is a desire for in-person, whether it's events or one-on-one. Start to insert yourself and start to set up those meetings again. And I think you're going to find some success. Look, you're going to get no's. So what? Move on.
Exactly.
Just keep making the calls. Like I get so many no's in a day. you're almost immune to it. Like, it bothers you somewhat on certain ones, but the reality is, like, this is sales, and so sometimes people are not going to say yes. So that'd be my advice right now, is just keep it simple. And the last one I'll give you is find a mentor. Find, like you said, coaching. I believe in investing in coaching. Whether you don't have the money, there's free coaching resources now. There's so many things that are free. But I think once you pay attention. So you can only afford $200 a month. You can't afford 2,000 like some coaches are a month. Start where you are. That's what I've done. And good rule of thumb I share with people is if you could take 10% of your income and start to invest that back in yourself, back in your marketing, back in your personal development, that's a really good rule of thumb to start with. If you're not there, I would get there.
Well, and what I think a lot of times happens is, and I was actually just on the previous podcast talking about the same thing. A lot of loan officers, not just loan officers, real estate agents, anybody that's in this sales business, I hate to break it to you, but if you are, whether you're W-2 or 1099, if you're straight commission, you need to look at this like you are the CEO of your business. It does not matter what company you work for, right? You're the CEO of your business because they still have that employee mindset. So they're not investing back into their business. They're not, maintaining a database and regularly following up with that database. They're not, getting the CRM and making sure it's working, properly and investing time and figuring that out. And since I sell a CRM for loan officers, one of the big things that I see, and I'm curious what you think about this, is that they'll come and do a demo. They love it. Oh my gosh, it's going to follow up with my past clients for the next 2 years. It's going to send, automate postcards and mailers and this and email marketing and da-da. They're all excited. 3 months goes by and they haven't implemented, anything that they should have. And then two more months goes by and they're, on to the next thing. So where do you see that disconnect?
Well, I'll
This
say, yeah. So whether it's the CRM or it's mini chat with Instagram or it's sending DMs, whether it's automating any part of your business, I think the disconnect is many of us look, it's probably true for a lot of us. We're not really good at that part of it. We're just not. Like, if you look at loan officers, there's a unique skill set. And then you say, oh, by the way, now you're going to go over here. It's almost like creating social media. We were all like, no, no, no. Like, I help people buy homes. I put together financing solutions. I run scenarios. Like, I know guidelines and products. And you want me to go create social media? And then I think the CRM piece is also a little bit intimidating in that it's not part of their routine. It's not part of their identity that's there. So I'll share with you recently, what I did is a great example of ManyChat rolled out their new Instagram feature where every new follower, you can set up a automatic DM that actually engages with them. So if they send it at 2 a.m. in the morning or 2 p.m. in the afternoon, you don't have to be on Instagram. New followers all get a cadence and a follow-up. You got to set it up. So what I've learned, this is a good lesson for everybody. In the past, I would have been the one. I would have taken a couple hours. I would have tried to have learned it, and I would have gone through all the tutorials, and I would have spent time. Probably would have done it, but I don't know how well I would have done it. This time, what I did is I actually made a post and I said, hey, I'm looking for a mini chat expert. I want somebody that can come in. I'll pay them per hour, but they need to have experience setting this up. They need to be able to do weekly calls with me, and we're going to set this up. There'll be other projects after, but this is what I need right now. I found someone, Danielle, literally that set it up in less than 4 hours. And the thing is smoking. The amount of direct messages we're sending, the amount of people, and we probably get to idea like 500, 600 new followers a month. So for me, 500, 600 people that I now have an automated campaign to reach out to. And we're about to change it as well because we've got 30 days worth of data and behavior that I've realized, okay, this works, but this doesn't work. And I share all that story with people to go, if you have an idea, you need to implement it. On the other end of that, I think about what I invested. It's not even one loan to close.
right.
So when you talk about investing in your business and the things, there is this huge fallacy I've heard, and it's probably one of the biggest lies I've actually experienced myself, is that we think people are going to invest when they've made enough money. Like, when I make a certain amount of money, then I'll invest in a coach. Then I'll invest in my CRM. Then I'll do it. Let me just be the one to tell you, the then never happens, because when you make more money, you usually change your budget. You're not going to spend it. You want to keep it. You're worried you're not going to make it again, like all that. Start investing small things now.
Yeah.
So give you real numbers, because I love tactics and real numbers. I probably spent less than $250 and got my entire mini chat set up by somebody that took hours that they love to do. They're better at it than me. And now it's set up. I got to keep making my sales calls, working with my team, doing what I do well. And I share those stories with people to go, you're no different than I am in that. You want to set up your CRM? Maybe you hire someone that's already done it or an expert in it and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to pay you whatever that is. And I want you to set this up so it's on autopilot for me. But where people miss this, Danielle, is like when we're doing our weekly reviews, is what I'm doing now, is our cadence. We're going through each week. What was our results? What worked? What didn't work? What do we need to change? You've got to go through that with your CRM as well. Maybe not every week, but at a minimum of once a month to go, hey, what did we send out this month? What performed well? Did we send out emails? What was the open rate? Did we send out anything that just crushed that we need to do again? This is the game. And I think we overcomplicate. So I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but that's real life, like what I'm doing now. I don't just talk about it. I tell people, look, still referring loans and producing loans within our team, and I'm still learning and trying things.
Yeah, you have to see what's working, what's not working, and then add, tweak, change, and eventually it will be a set it and forget it thing.
Yeah.
But a lot of times people are in this, well, I think one of the things is that they don't set their day up. So they're just, being very reactive, like they're not proactive. This with the CRM, you have to say, okay, I'm going to spend X amount of, time on figuring this out. Or like you said, hire somebody. And that's what we do. Well, if they don't want to, it's a lot of it's set up. It's just like a plug and play. But at the same time, if you really want it customized for you, we'll set that entire thing up, for you. But shiny object syndrome is also out there. So they'll look at this one thing and then, oh no, but this can do this. And then they don't actually implement anything. And that's what I see with a lot of different people is they want to do it. They want it to work, but they don't want to spend, the time to figure out how to structure their business with systems and stuff like that. I want to talk to you because you're now running multiple branches, right? And I'm in, like if we look at some of the other companies out there, whether you're looking for a branch or you're looking to recruit for a downline, whether you're EXP type of model or whatever. If you're the solopreneur wanting to now go and have a team or have a branch, plus you're already busy doing loans, you might even be in the weeds. How do you start to what steps have to happen to move into that? And I just want to preface this, and I actually now, so before 2008, I owned a real estate and mortgage company. And then we all know what happened in 2008. And at that point, I said, I made a vow to myself, which I'm changing this vow, by the way, but I made a vow to myself that I will never let my income be dependent on other people's actions. And what I mean by that is I owned the company. I was no longer producing. Everything that came in, I gave to the loan officers that worked for me. But when, everything happened in '08, and the work and the effort wasn't being in there and people got out of the business and and I closed my company, I was like, well, my income just went from here to here and now I have to start all over. I didn't, have my database. I was giving that to everybody. And I was like, I'm not doing that again. Now, fast forward, we're almost at, 2026. And I'm thinking about making, that change. So whether someone's recruiting for a downline or wanting to build a team, what would you say, I guess, thoughts on that, as well as how to transition?
Well, it's a great question. I would start with, why do you want to recruit? This is what most people miss. If it's for the money, let me just save you the headache and the heartache and all of the extra work that you think you're going to do. Don't do it. Just don't do it. If you're doing it only solely for the money, and I can tell you, I've seen it in my career. I've been guilty of it, hiring people, and you're thinking about, what you're going to earn. The people that win in this game, it's relationships and long-term, and you understand why you're doing it. And so I would start there. And the second one is, you need to think about this, is you're only going to be able to recruit to the level at which you're performing. Meaning you need habits and disciplines, systems, value, and things that if someone were to look at you and go, hey, Brian or Danielle, I could see myself joining your team because I see how you could help me get to where I want to go. And you need to think That's selfish. That's what they're evaluating when they're looking at your company. Yes, they're looking at your products, your rates, your systems, your CRM, your point of sale. So they're looking at all that stuff, right? But more importantly, they're looking going, is this the person that can help me get to that next level? And if you can't articulate that and you can't be that person, don't be that person,
Right.
right? Like, just don't go out there and do that. Now, many of you listen to this because if you listen to a podcast, you're probably into personal growth, personal development. You need to start thinking about, okay, if that's going to be me and I'm going to play this game, then I'm going to need to pull hours from what I'm doing today, which is my personal production. That's where I make the most amount of money and always will be. And I'm going to need to now shift. And am I clear on my targeted avatar? Meaning, who would I want to work with? If I brought another LO in, do I have a certain standard for which they have their files in quality and where their business comes from? Do I have a certain standard for how I'm going to be able to support that LO? Like, if they come in, can I support them? Do I have the support system around me? As you're building your team, do you have the right processing, underwriting, closing, that you're not going to be the firefighter dealing with files? Because I've been there, right? And you brought someone into a company and only to have some operational challenges because maybe all they do is bond loans, just for example. And you're like, man, we're not really great at bond loans. Don't bring in that producer. It's like someone brought in a DSCR producer the other day, and we're talking to them potentially about coming with us because they went to a company that they were sold, that they had all of this there, and they're brokering everything out, and it's a lot more complicated and cumbersome, and they're dealing with appraisal challenges, and all this stuff's outsourced. And they're like, well, man, we might have good terms like rate and guidelines and LTVs and all, but man, it's a nightmare to get a deal closed. And you don't know where things are. So I share those because those are real. And you need to know, who are you recruiting and why? Not only what value you add, but your company that's there. And the last one, I would just implore you, if that's what you want to do, you need a coach. You need to be personally developing yourself every day. You need to be committed to the fact that their success is, yes, dependent upon what they do, but it is also now they put their trust in you for you to help them get to the next level. And I think about in my career, there's probably a lot of people that maybe didn't agree with things I did, or maybe not happy with me, or different things there. But what I have is a track record of people that went from point A to point B and had their best years and success. Like, they may not agree with the things and some of the standards and some of the tough conversations, but can you be that leader that you're okay with the fact that you're not going to be liked every day?
Right.
And if you can't be, and you're a people pleaser, please do not go try to build a team and have people around you, because you're only just limiting their growth and your growth. And so, share that, because those are literally failures that I've had in my own journey to get to where I am today, to work on the new things that I'm working on in my own growth. And I've realized, I mean, look at one of the peaks, Danielle, I had 24 branches that I was managing. Way too many. I was stretched out thin. I learned and got exposed on things that I needed to learn and do. And I said, you know what I'm not going to do and go hire all those, because some were lower producing, some were higher producing. And so now I have an avatar and a standard for which, if you're going to be on our team, this is the person I'm looking for. And I believe I can get to that same volume level with half the branches. Now, like, that's what I believe and know to be true, but I had to experience it to get there. So sharing a lot as you go through, just so people can maybe learn from the things that I've been through. So does that answer the question? Anything?
Yeah. No, I think that's awesome, because most people don't think like that. First of all, they just think that they want to recruit. And if you recruit somebody that is not your ideal avatar, or let's just say you recruit somebody that does only DSCR and you're not at a DSCR company, the only thing that that's going to do is, number one, create friction, create an issue, also create a negative mindset. If you have a loan officer that's not successful at the company, and then you're trying to be all happy, positive, da da da, to bring in more people, right? But this person is not gonna make it. So I think that's really important in making sure, and who your avatar is. And like, Ed Milet and a lot of the other people say, is the best person that you can help is the person that you used to be.
Yeah.
And so maybe finding that, who were you before and where are you today? And that could be where you start in identifying your avatar.
That's so good. That's one of the ones I've stuck with, and Rory Vaden will share a similar quote to that. And you're most powerfully positioned to serve the person you once were. So he and Ed have those. And I think about this too, is today you've got optionality, right? Like, whether it's Nexa, CrossCountry, some of the other good companies out there, you could build a team today. And I've seen people super successful of adding LOs onto their team that they just give business to, and they pay them, they can set up different team structures and all that, but they don't really need to manage LOs that way. They're more of the rainmaker and they want to get out of some of the day to day, but that could be a team structure versus hiring an LO and saying, hey, you're going to go self-gen all of your stuff. I'm going to provide the support and the infrastructure and all that for you. They're very different models. And so figure out which one is it for you? Because we've got a group here. You probably know who it is in Florida. They'll do 600-700 million this year. And it's really one main person with everybody else in these different roles, this manufacturing. And then I know another group that they've got close to 10 LOs, right? And they're going to do a tremendous amount of volume over there, a few hundred million. And you go, both models work.
Right.
Which one is best do you want? And so get clarity on who you are and what you want. I think that's helped me in my journey is even in this season coming to CCM was, what do I really want to build? What do I want it to look like? And what you're great at, what you've had a history of success in, and what people come to you and comes easy to you is where you should lean in.
Right. Exactly. So, what would you say? Because we talked in the beginning about going from producing loan officer into, let's just say, growing a team. And obviously you can't stop doing production because that's where your income comes, but you're wanting to move into recruiting. What are those daily activities that you need to be doing in order to, make that change?
The first spot I would start is, I wish I'd known this sooner. If you're producing today and you want to add LOs to your team, you got to think about today where you spend your time is all on your production, all on your referrals, all the things that are there. I would start to look at who's the next hire you could bring in or someone on your team already you have today that has capacity that you could say, hey, you know what? I'm going to delegate this to you, right? Danielle, I want you to take this over for us. And this is going to be a part of the process that I want you to own. And so that's going to bring now time back to me. I'm going to buy back some time, a little Dan Martell piece. And then I'm going to say, okay, now I need to allocate every week. Let's say it's an hour a day to actually prospecting and recruiting. And so if you did that 5 hours a week, you're going to have results if you do it well and consistent and all that. It's not like you need to go out there and be crazy 3 hours, 4 hours a day. I have seen and coached some of the best people that an hour a day, they're super disciplined. They have their list. They follow up intentionally. They have a system. And so I would start to actually look at what your system is and what time you're going to commit and come up with a plan. Because if you say you're going to recruit, and it's just like you said earlier, like you show up and you have no plan, you're going to be frustrated. You're not going to get results. And you're like, oh man, this recruiting thing, it's not for me. It's too hard. No, you need a system, right? You need to know. And it really starts with basic things of where you would start today is look in your market and pull up, whether it's Redder or any of the other services out there. There's so many that you can pull up and go, hey, I'm going to go over here. Modex has got some stuff, CoreLogic. Who are the top producers in your market?
Right.
And I guarantee you, we just did this exercise in one of our markets and we went through and there was at least 20 producers in a $20 to $40 million bucket, like an ideal avatar for them in production that they really didn't know. If they were to text them or call them, they're probably not picking up right away. You know what I mean? So it's like, this is a new relationship we need to cultivate. So you need a list and then you need to go, now I'm going to allocate an hour a day to do this and build your system, right? Some things that work well for me is I send out podcasts I listen to. I'm mailing out 5 books today to people that are there that I've been reading, right? You need a system of, is there an article you can send? Like I connect people with other mortgage originators going, hey, you know what? You shared this on the last call, Danielle, that you were struggling with this part in your business. I know somebody that's crushing it there. Do you mind if I introduce you? And I'll do these introductions all the time and become this connector. And that's helped me because if I can help them create a win where they are today, there's a term my mentor taught me, surrogate leadership. And so I'm going to step in where their leader is currently not stepping in. I'm going to help them get wins. And they're going to go, man, every time I talk to Brian or like he gives me an idea, it's helping my business. Like, and I want them to think, what would it be like working for me? Well, I'm going to demo that through this experience. That's where I think a lot of people miss it today. That's the blocking and tackling that's there. If you're trying to call 1 time, 2 times, 3 times, you think you're just going to jump to the offer stage. It ain't the right person. And I'm just telling you, that is not the reality. It's going to take 10 conversations in person,
Yeah.
more to like, it's just going to take longer than you think. And so be ready for that. And if you're okay with it, the good news is over time, you'll build up enough relationships when people are exploring a move or you have a conversation, they're more prone to go, hey, let me open it up to you about what's really going on.
Right. Exactly. You're building that relationship through various things. You're not just picking up the phone, pounding the phones, cold calling them and stuff like that. And then also when you are omnipresent, I was on a webinar not too long ago for recruiting, and it was with EXP, and he's like the number one recruiter. And he says, I don't like, he just attracts, doesn't like do all of this. He attracts because he's always online, always on social. People are seeing what he's doing, and he's attracting people reaching out to him.
Yeah, it's a little different in real estate. I've seen some of that go there is, I think for real estate, they are going wider in the sense of they're going to bring on an agent that if they've got a targeted avatar might be different than in mortgage. So I've seen that there in some of the bigger downlines. I think it can be a little different for it's a little bit wider of a net that they might be going after. But to your point, if you can start to attract people in, what I have learned through my own social is there are so many people that are the looky-loos, I call them. And just this week alone, I'm talking to two people and they share that they're listening to my podcast every week. And I'm like, well, how would I know that? They don't really comment on my posts. They don't really like send me a DM. But then one of them even tagged me and they were talking about their top 5 podcasts they listen to. And I happened to be one of them. And I shot him a note. I'm like, bro, this is awesome. I didn't know that, number one. Number two, thank you for supporting this. And then I just asked him a really simple question of, if you were able to pick some topics for 2026 that you would want me to share and dive deeper on, what would those be for you?
I love that. I
I
love that.
mean, that's your audience, but I think about those things. These are just like being human and like a real person. It's not like, hey, you watch my podcast. You want to join my team? That's no.
Exactly. Exactly. So what are some of things that loan officers need to be looking at in 2026, to really kind of separate themselves from a lot of the other LOs out there?
Well, I think this might have been a Tom Ferry thing recently shared, and it's not the market that's dictating success or failure right now, right? Like we want to say, hey, in our market, there's a certain amount of transactions happening right now. The rates are this, and that's why my business is here, and it's off from where it could be. It's a mindset. It really is, and I hate to break it to people. Like I'm guilty of this too, of times going, man, I wish there was more of this, or oh, I wish rates were a little lower there, or I wish whatever. We can wish all we want. I think as you're looking at next year, is you just have to get really clear about what are you truly going to obsess over. And so I think there's 3 levels to this. You can be somebody in the entry level, which I say they're interested. Like you're interested in making some money next year. You're interested in the mortgage business. You're interested in doing more production. Like that's cool. Like you're in, you're out, but you know this, like 50% of the time.
Minute.
Yeah. Then you could move. Phase 2 is committed. And this is where your discipline starts to build and you're doing the activities, but you're not doing them as much as you know you should be doing. You're not learning AI and tech today the way if you were to implement that new CRM or the CRM you have today, that you're not using even the full capacity. You're not leveraging people like I shared with you. I'm building out like my mini chat. You're not doing social and videos to the level you are. Like you're in the game more than others. And so when you compare yourself, you go, well, I'm doing what they're doing, or I'm doing more than this person in my office. That's not going to win next year. There's this camp, and Tim Grover talks about this all the time, is you got to get obsessed. And my challenge to people is, especially people that I coach or on our team, is I want us to get obsessed for the first 90 days, which actually starts now, preparing and getting momentum. But what would your life look like? And to write those down of, I have made this much money. I have lost this much weight. Like I am this person, like all those things in the present tense. What would it look like in 90 days if you truly got obsessed? You went weird. Like people are gonna be like, Danielle, you're going to all these things. You're doing webinars online. You're doing Facebook Lives, Instagram Lives. You're showing up to these events with real estate agents. You're calling more real estate agents than ever. You're calling your database every day. You hired somebody to help you build this piece out or help you with your business. Like people would look at it and go, I don't know what's wrong with her. Like, man, she's crazy. You need to get to that level and to be obsessed. I did that last year with my fitness. And I can't tell you how many people are like, you shouldn't be doing that twice a day. And are you sure you're okay? And, all like everybody was, it's kind of like I was weird. You got to get to a place where people look at you and they're like, dude, are you okay? Like you are running a lot and you're working out a lot. And, I see you doing all these things. Like get to a place that you're obsessed and weird about what's there. The second one I would tell you is we can't escape hard work.
Yeah.
And there's going to be an element in the first quarter, I believe, that the market is not going to give us anything. If some markets, it's actually going to be the harder part of the year, right? And I would be thinking about where are the fundamentals that I need to improve and get better at? Where are the things that have worked for me in 2025 that instead of trying something new, I double down? A great example would be one of my friends crushes it on webinars. They'll do these live webinars and they'll talk about how you can buy your first home with no money down, or they'll talk about DSCR and say, hey, here's how you can buy a property without having to qualify on income, like all these things, and generate referrals. Once you find that, instead of trying to go do the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, if something is working for you and you're only doing it 2 or 3 times a month, what if you did it 10 times a month? And I think about that. And the last one, I'll get very practical, is go back and look at your database this year. Where did your referrals come from? Were they real estate agents, financial planners, investors, people maybe in your database that love you and refer you to everybody? Find those top 10, if hopefully you have 10. If not, start at 5. But you need to go deep, do some type of appreciation for them, pull them in together, and even do like a luncheon and pull them in, share your goals with them. I know somebody on our team that I was like, what if you pulled all of them in, your top 10, and say, hey guys, here's my goal this year. I want to help 100 families. You're part of that. I realize I can't work with all of you on every deal, but we're going to go out there together and we're going to help 100 families this year. And you're going to be part of this, like this collective mission, letting them know, helping educate them on how they overcome objections in the market. Realtors are starving for that today. They're struggling. Some of them are struggling on how do you move that listing? How do you get that buyer approved when they're going to be stretching their budget? What if you could help them overcome objections? What if you could script it in a way that the referrals you got were so much better and warmer? What would your conversion look like next year? And so I think about those things as the reality is, what they are. You just might not be willing to do them, which is why you need a coach, is why you need accountability. And it's why podcasts like this matter, because hopefully I've sparked a little, maybe pissed you off a little or got you excited about something. You go, I could do this.
Right. And I think 2 things that you just said. Number one, when I was thinking it, you were saying it, clarity. Getting very clear on what it is you're going to do and go after, and then coming up with a plan on how you're going to be consistent and making sure, that you're consistent with it. But clarity, and a lot of times people don't do things. They have analysis paralysis, and because they're not clear on where to go, where that, so get it. And what I tell people all the time is that clarity comes with action, right? The more action you take, the clearer you get. And a lot of times people want clarity before action, but action is what's going to give you that clarity. Okay, this is not working. I need to pivot to this. Okay, I'm trying this, whatever. Um, and then I want to end with this, because the 3 words that I want to ask everybody for 2026, and I want you to ask yourself, is, are you interested? Are you committed? Or are you obsessed? And if you're going to be obsessed, what are those things you're going to be obsessed about?
It'll change your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Read Relentless. You could read Winning. Those are 2 Grover books that are there. Also a really good book I'll add just to help people, because some people ask, is one of my coaches, Ben Newman, The Standard. People talk about The Standard. Ben wrote the book.
Oh, wow.
So go read the book.
Okay.
Because when you get obsessed, you need to set standards and not goals. You need to have standards of who you're going to be when you show up every day. Breakthroughs, working with Ben, gosh, 5 years now, I think. Yeah. And go read those books. That'll help you in your journey if you're a reader, especially, or listen to the audio.
Right. I love that. So thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it. You brought so much gold nuggets to this that everybody should be watching and rewatching and rewatching. And, you know, if you do the certain things that Brian talked about, you will be successful. Make sure you're getting in the right rooms. Make sure you're getting around the right people. Looking at your current circle, do you need to make any changes with that? And then looking at your business and are you and the right fit where you're at. So
Awesome. Thanks for having me on again.
thank you so much, Brian. I really appreciate it. It's always great whenever you come on. So if today's episode opened your eyes to what's possible with AI and automation, here's the next step. At Done by One, we help entrepreneurs and sales professionals audit, automate, and implement AI into their business without the overwhelm. You can book a business audit to see where you need to implement AI and automation. Get set up with the Done by One CRM to run your business on autopilot, or take our AI courses to build your own AI tools and assistants. Do not wait until you're playing catch up. Head on over to Done by One at donebyone.ai and take action today, because the businesses that implement AI now are the ones that will win tomorrow. And remember, let's be done and be done by one.